What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Dillian, the body snatcher Whyte. And get this, he says that Anthony Joshua was only pretending he wanted to fight back in 2019. If you guys can remember, Anthony Joshua had another date at Wembley. He set two dates in advance, one in September, the other one in April. And according to Dillian Whyte thinks he was only pretending like he wanted some of that smoke. Anyway, this is what Dillian Whyte said himself. He said, "No point pretending you want the fight. Pretending you're trying to make it," Whyte said to Sky Sports. "No, if you wanted the fight is there. I'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. If he wants it, he can get it. By the time the fight comes, I'll be flying," said Whyte. Now, on the positive side, Whyte will get a title shot in 2021 as long as he beats the former WBA former champion Alexander Povetkin. Additionally, the coronavirus pandemic, of course, could have an impact on whether Whyte gets his mandated title shot for the WBC belt or not. If the virus is still around by next year, and many believe that it will be, Whyte will be finding himself still waiting. Hearn has talked of possibly taking fights behind closed doors in boxing if it's shut down for a prolonged period of time from the virus. That's going to require a lot of work on Hearn and Matchroom to figure out how to stage the fight behind closed doors without a live audience. Now, the question that Whyte did bring up, he brought up that Hearn has intentionally kept Joshua away from Whyte. Okay, now both Whyte and Joshua, of course, is signed with Matchroom, so they could easily have made the fight a long time ago if there was any interest there. Over the years, Whyte has repeatedly made it clear to promoter Eddie Hearn that he wanted the rematch with Joshua, but for some reason he's not made the fight. Is it possible that Hearn is protecting Joshua from Whyte? Some boxing fans believe that the reason why he hasn't put the mouth-watering rematch together for all these years is not that it's possible that Hearn has been letting the Joshua versus Whyte 2 marinate for it to create more interest for the boxing world. That's hard to believe, though, given the risky fights that Dillian Whyte's been in. And, we got Oscar Rivas, Derek Chisora, Joseph Parker. It's basically, to me, Dillian Whyte has went on with his career, according to Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn has put him in there with hard or stern competition. Okay, now, me counterpunching all this with Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte not fighting Anthony Joshua right away is a good thing. I think Dillian Whyte fighting Anthony Joshua would be the same as Dillian Whyte fighting Derek Chisora. It already happened. Okay, so with me personally, with redos, like a lot of people try to call Matchroom rematch room, and I think Eddie Hearn was on to certain things, and he doesn't want to be known for certain stigmas from other, criticizers, okay? Because a lot of people say that, rematch room or whatever, and I think Dillian Whyte has actually, because he hasn't fought Joshua, raised his profile even more. For one, he's a guy that people want to see because he's an exciting fighter. For two, he's bringing his own fans and his own interest, his own personal interest to the table. Sure, he could fight Anthony Joshua, but he has to understand Anthony Joshua is a guy that is on that upper echelon, okay? He sells more, he sells more, he makes more money, and it's easy to hate on a guy like that, especially in a position that Dillian Whyte's in, because he's kind of like that second in command over there at Matchroom. Even though Eddie Hearn has a lot of fighters, but he already beat Joseph Parker. And if he, then you got Usyk, which is the new kid on the block over there. We don't know how he would match up against these guys yet. So as it stands, Joshua's still the man over there at Matchroom as far as heavyweights. Dillian Whyte, he holds his own, but he's not that guy yet. But he keeps fighting the tough fights. That's where his reputation is. He has the reputation of a warlord, okay, instead of a general or an emperor or a king, right? because he wanted these fights from Deontay Wilder and all these other fights. But I will say this. If he says that Anthony Joshua, if he thinks that Anthony Joshua was pretending to fight him, and really didn't want to fight him, he should have took the money that was offered to him to call the bluff, because that's the only way we're going to know that. It's easy for him to say that in late March of 2021. Oh, damn near a year later, he didn't really want the fight. He just pretending he didn't want it. Well, if you really wanted the fight, we can turn that around, okay? Dillian Whyte knew if his prime objective was to fight Anthony Joshua, he was well aware at 2 fights in advance. It would be different if Anthony Joshua would have set a date in September, won that fight, then set another date in maybe December, right? Right after he had that hard fight with Chisora that went 11 hard rounds, right? It would be different if that was the case, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't at all. The truth of the matter was Anthony Joshua set both of these dates at the same time. So he had ample time to know, okay, this guy thinks he's going to fight Deontay Wilder. If Deontay Wilder's scared or Deontay Wilder reneges on that opportunity, I'm going to be there for that opportunity. So when he knocked out Derek Chisora, he should have automatically been in that same mindset. Okay, I took out my guy. I took out this guy that people thought that beat me, Derek Chisora, my rival, the guy that threw water in my face and all this. We settled the score because I knocked him spark out in the 11th round. Now let me go after Anthony Joshua, because that's the thorn in my side. That's the guy that I want, and I know damn well he got that date in advance. I'm going to take that date from Deontay Wilder. If I'm Dillian Whyte, that's the type of mentality that I have if I was hungry for it. If he says that anybody can get it, what did he do? It ain't enough time. It ain't enough money, right? He wanted the money. Joshua did stiff him on the money. I do agree with him that the money wasn't where it's supposed to be. I do agree for Dillian Whyte. However, certain things you have to take sacrifices for. Not everything is about money, especially if you're selling out O2 arenas, okay? And you just made you a nice spill of money, right? Take that money, take that fight, knock out Anthony Joshua, then you'll be the man that they're looking at with all those belts. Because, again, not everything was about money. But that's why Dillian Whyte supposedly didn't take it at the end of the day. That was his brick wall. He was like, no, I'm not taking this money because it's not, for one, there's not enough time. Well, you should have been prepared. For 2, if it was the money that was involved, okay, let's knock him out. If I beat you, what about the second fight? Because really, if he would have beat Anthony Joshua, the thing is getting Joshua in the ring, okay? Anthony Joshua is not Superman. He's not Iron Man. He's not indestructible, okay? He can be beaten. A fat guy named Andy Ruiz proved that. Okay, give him an off night and another hype fighter, you might have an upset. So if Dillian Whyte, if he trusted and had a leap of faith and said, you know what, forget that money. I'm gonna take that money and I'm gonna take those belts with me when I knock you out in this ring, because it's time for revenge. Again, revenge. It's other things other than money. Okay. So that was his only reason. Oh, well, he just pretended to fight. Well, how can you say that if you didn't take the money? If you didn't take that money, how can you say those things? Now, I do understand Dillian Whyte with the mindset, because you have to think if you were Dillian Whyte. What did he do after that? He came over to fight Jarrell Miller, which was another loudmouth, which was a guy that taunted Anthony Joshua. And that would have been, a welcoming here in America, but he failed the freaking drug test. But that wasn't April now, was it? So if I'm Dillian Whyte, I'm like, well, why couldn't I have been on that card? Because they were trying to, they wanted an American fighter, to fight in America, to represent America, to see what he can do against America, because we had an American champ, which was Deontay Wilder at the time. Okay, cool. So we need to get a jump start and a fresh guy and a fresh American face, which was Jarrell Miller. Okay. Unfortunately, that didn't pertain to Dillian Whyte, because he wasn't American for 1, and he wasn't undefeated either for 2. So not saying they couldn't sell, but if they were going to fight, it would have been in England if Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua would have fought. So Joshua's interest shifted once he really couldn't find anybody for that date. Okay. So they created another date. But again, I would have took the money if I'm Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte was in the same situation. He was in an earlier situation to choose before Jarrell Miller, okay? Because he could have said, okay, I'll take the money and I'll fight you. He started talking about other fights after that. What if I beat you? How would the split be and all this? He shouldn't have been worried about that. He should have been thinking about what would it benefit him knocking out Anthony Joshua, getting his revenge, getting the belts, okay, and getting his name out there. Then he would be the guy to talk about. Of course, he had to fight Joshua again. However, he has a win on Joshua. A lot of people, including Deontay Wilder, can't say that because he never stepped in the ring with Joshua. But Dillian Whyte has, okay? So since he has, let's let him compare what Dillian Whyte should have thought about. What did he make in the first fight versus what he made in the second? He would have made more in the second fight to fight Anthony Joshua, but he could have been a unified champion, and then it wouldn't have mattered if you're the interim WBC champ or not, because you're a unified champion with the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF, okay? So before he's saying that Joshua pretended to fight, that's just like Deontay Wilder saying the same thing, okay? It doesn't really hold merit when someone's sending you a contract. You take the sucker, you sign the sucker, and you get in the ring. That's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think about Dillian Whyte's comments. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.